check.
Which building?
The only building in front of the stage.
Ah, that building. Maybe.
Maybe.
Maybe not.
How maybe not?
You think it's necessary?
I see a guy moving on the roof.
Ah, the usual guys. Boss is very suspicious. He might be doing a parkour. He's lie down flat on his stomach. He's probably resting after doing parkour.
He's looking towards Trump.
Maybe the Trump fan tried to get a better view of him.
Okay, he's pulled out a rifle.
A rifle. Definitely a rifle. Can you tell if it's a real rifle?
How I know if it's real?
Maybe it's fake and we are worrying for nothing.
It's a real rifle.
Very strange. Boss, awaiting your orders. Do you see any clay pigeon shooting devices?
I don't think he's practicing shooting clay pigeons.
We need to be sure, Frank.
Boss, now he's aiming towards Trump.
Can you see his expression?
What expression?
His facial expression. He seems to be mad.
I don't know, boss.
Or is he looking at him admirably?
I can't tell.
Maybe he's just using the rifle scope to get a better look.
Boss, if we don't act now, he will shoot him.
Stay calm, Frank. I don't think...
He's shooting, boss.
Holy cow.
He's still shooting. What do I do?
Are you sure you don't see any clay pigeons around?
No clay pigeons.
Alright, in that case, fire a warning shot immediately.
So I was surfing through the net, trying to find stuff about assassinations in general. Not just the Trump assassination, but assassinations in general. And I discovered that there's a CIA manual about how to pull them off. That's just right out there. You can look at it, find it, and yeah, it's like a textbook on how to knock guys off. So I'm gonna go through the etymology of assassinations that they created and try to apply it to what's gone down in the last week. The document was written in 1953. It's called A Study of Assassinations, and it helps illuminate the long history of involvement of the intelligence agencies in political killings. A Study of Assassination details protocols for the assassination of political targets by intelligence operatives and their associates. The document begins with an etymology of the word itself. Assassination is a term thought to be derived from hashish, a drug similar to marijuana, said to have been used on Hassan Dan Sabah to introduce motivation into his followers, who were assigned to carry out political and other murders, usually at the cost of their lives. That's where the word assassination comes from. And apparently this old guy, Hassan, he lived a long time ago, and he recruited dudes and got them all hopped up on dope and then sent them out to murder people, usually as it said, the expense of their own lives. So what is that really saying there? That's talking about mind control, isn't it? Using mind control to get people to kill other people and die in the process. Seems to me.
As you can see behind me, this is the roof the shooter was on. It is a very low roof, and it is very close to the fairground. I mean, it's right here. The president's stage was right over there, 150 yards or something away. And it's no wonder people could see him, because this roof is low, this building is really close in, and it's totally exposed. I mean, right where I'm standing, there were gobs of people. So it's no wonder that lots of folks saw him. The question is, why didn't law enforcement see him get on the roof? Why didn't they see him on the roof? Why didn't they go up and confront him before he started shooting, or before he got on the roof when he was all in this area? It's so close together, it's hard to understand.
The manual broke assassinations down into 3 different types: simple, chase, and guarded. Assassinations in which the subject is unaware of his danger will be termed simple. Those where the subject is aware but unguarded will be called chase. And those where the victim is guarded will be called guarded. The second distinction is made between lost and safe assassination. If the assassin is to die with the subject, the act will be called lost. If the assassin is to escape, the adjective will be safe. It should be noted that no compromises should exist here. The assassin must not fall alive into enemy hands under any circumstances. And finally, the document distinguishes between secret, open, and terroristic assassination. A further type division is caused by the need to conceal the fact that the subject was actually the victim of an assassination, rather than an accident or natural causes. If such concealment is desirable, the operation will be called secret. If concealment is immaterial, the act will be called open, while if the assassination requires publicity to be effective, it will be called terroristic. So in the case of Mr. Trump, you could call that assassination attempt a guarded, lost, and probably terroristic assassination, or possibly just an open assassination. Or like with the Kennedy assassination, you could say that it is a guarded, lost, and probably terroristic assassination, or an open assassination. Of course, you know, Oswald, he was murdered, so you could call it a lost assassination. But anyway, that's how you define assassinations. It's all quite cut and dried, and it, I don't know, seems to make sense to me.
We were told Lee Harvey Oswald acted alone. That was a lie. We were told Sirhan Sirhan acted alone. That was a lie. We were told James Earl Ray acted alone. That was a lie. Now we're being told that Thomas Matthew Crooks acted alone.
Now, for the sake of brevity, I'm going to go straight to lost assassinations, because this assassination of Mr. Trump, an assassination attempt, was obviously a lost assassination. In lost assassinations, moreover, it becomes even more vital that any contact between the assassin and the broader conspiracy is kept to an absolute minimum. This is doubly important due to the ideal profile specified for a perpetrator who is recruited to carry out a lost assassination. In lost assassination, the assassin must be a fanatic of some sort. Politics, religion, and revenge are about the only feasible motives. Since a fanatic is unstable psychologically, he must be handled with extreme care. He must not know the identities of the other members of the organization, for although it is intended that he die in the act, something may go wrong. And one paramount condition is that nothing is ever written down. Everything is done verbally, face to face, with probably one handler that orchestrates the whole thing. So in this case, you know, we're seeing that the guy didn't have any footprint that you can trace. There wasn't anyone he was in communication with. There is talk about having 3 accounts that are encrypted, but those could be anything. All kinds of things are encrypted. Emails encrypted. That doesn't really mean anything just because it's encrypted, you know. But, you know, that's interesting. But the point is, nobody knows anything about how any of this happened. How did the guy get explosives? How did the guy figure out how to use detonators to set it off? How did he get a remote control that's capable of setting the thing off from a distance? These are all things that 20-year-old punk, I hesitate to call him a punk, because he's probably just as much a victim as anyone if he's been mind controlled. But, you know, there are all these questions and there aren't any answers. And that seems to fit the profile here, seems to me.
We've got even more information. Apparently, local police are saying Secret Service lied when they claimed that it was supposed to be local law enforcement securing the roof. Secret Service would never hand off a sniper vantage point to a local police department, and local police are saying their only duty was traffic control. This whole thing is breaking apart.
Crucially, the document states that public figures or guarded officials may be killed with great reliability and some safety if a firing point can be established prior to the official occasion. And we saw this happen. He took a drone and he flew it all over the place to determine where his location would be. And it advises, and this is key, the subversion of a unit of an official guard at the ceremony. So in other words, you're going to have some people on the inside to help out. Some of the guards in charge of guarding the official or the target. Close scrutiny of the conduct of Secret Service and law enforcement agents charged with protecting Donald Trump strongly suggests that the assassination attempt may in fact have involved such subversion. By any standard, it was patently disastrous security failure for which no satisfactory explanation has been given. So in other words, they're saying here that it certainly looks like these guys on the inside were on the take and were taking orders from somebody. If Crooks was in fact recruited to be the perpetrator of a lost assassination, it would follow that the party responsible for his subsequent killing could be connected to the party responsible for recruiting him as an assassin in the first place. So in other words, the guys on the inside who shot him and the guys who were handling him and manipulating him on the outside were probably all working for the same guy, which, that just stands to reason. Re ipsa loquitur.
It really is. Tell us what these whistleblowers are telling you that is most alarming to you.
Well, one thing is that most of the detail assigned to Trump that day and to that rally were not Secret Service, that most of them were from other federal agencies, including Homeland Security. And Sean, they weren't prepared. They didn't know what the procedures were. They did not have the site locked down. They were not adequately patrolling the perimeter. As you just said a moment ago, they were leaving huge gaps. Whistleblowers also tell us that they were allowing people to come into the grounds who weren't checked. They weren't monitoring who was getting up around the stage. I mean, it's unbelievable.
To summarize the main points of scrutiny, the alleged perpetrator was initially allowed onto the event grounds with a rangefinder and returned to the side with a backpack shortly after disappearing from the grounds. The alleged perpetrator somehow brought a large ladder into the event site despite a large security fence, and yet was somehow able to position the ladder against the building without arousing suspicion. Multiple civilians in the crowd vocally notified law enforcement of the perpetrator's position, and the Secret Service counter sniper, having his rifle visibly trained on Crooks, failed to engage with the shooter until after shots were fired. More details will surely emerge on the assassination attempt, but the information available thus far clearly points toward the likelihood of a broader conspiracy. And there's another technique that I've noticed over the years that wasn't in the manual, but I've noticed it. When something like this occurs, suddenly all kinds of extraneous information starts getting introduced into the equation, and with the effect of just muddying the waters and prevent people from focusing clearly on the issues involved. And sure as shit, along comes guys like Alex Jones and others, and they're starting to talk about multiple shooters, just like they did with the Kennedy assassination. So everybody gets bogged down talking about multiple shooters instead of looking at the real issues of who did it and why and how. Anyway, if you really want to find out, if you want to get to the bottom of this quick, it would seem to me that the most likely culprits involved in this whole thing would be the sharpshooters, the counter snipers. Also, the majority of these people I'm hearing weren't even Secret Service agents. They were DHS personnel, and they were brought in at the last minute. The normal or the regular assigned Secret Service team was taken off Mr. Trump and given, rest and recuperation or something like that. So right there, we don't even really know for sure. No one ever really knew for sure who was actually going to be guarding Mr. Trump. Point of the matter is, this whole thing stinks. You're not going to convince me that this wasn't a conspiracy. Now, who did it? That's up for grabs. It could have been the Iranians, could have been the Ukrainians. There are a lot of people who want to see Mr. Trump dead, especially very powerful multinational corporate interests, because corporations assassinate people too. They have access to trillions of dollars. You think they don't have enough money to hire hit people? Anyway, I would suggest you look it up and go read it yourself. It's only about 20 pages. It's not that much. And I'll put a link to the article, or I'll put a citation to the article at the very end of this, so that if you want to, you can go find it yourself as well there. All I can say, when you consider the enormous power and the magnitude of the corruption we're facing, all I can think of to say is heaven help us.
But I tell you one thing, today, Sean, when I went to the site, The FBI has got more security on that site now than they did the night that Trump was shot at. I mean, the FBI, totally late, and they're trying to control the information. Sean, they tried to kick me off of the site. They said, get out of here. You shouldn't be on the site. We don't want you here.
Get out of here?
They are